Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to our continued playthrough with Votes for Women, designed by Tory Brown and published by Fort Circle Games. We're continuing our fight for women's suffrage in the United States, but in our previous episode we made some morally dark decisions. I'm hoping in the back half of the game we can make up for those decisions and win women's suffrage in the United States, but we have a lot of work to do and everything is up in the air. Let's jump into the action. A quick recap of the action so far. We have 4/6 of the way down here of our national support. We need 2 more tokens to do that. Kind of holding off on that till maybe the end of this turn or early 5th turn to see if we can kind of force the Applebot to burn some of its attention on the national level, where we feel pretty comfortable right now with 2/3 of the way there. And state-wise, we've done a good job reducing the Applebot support. Only Kentucky here and New Hampshire has Applebot support at this point in time, but support for suffrage isn't very strong either. So we had a lot of casualties going both ways in the previous turn. In this turn, our goal perhaps is to get maybe all of the way to national support by the end of the turn perhaps, or at least one more up there, and then build up support everywhere across the country. I'm thinking I might actually start to kind of sacrifice one state in each region like we're doing here for Kentucky, and we probably could have done for Texas when we had 2 Applebot support down there. Because if we give up one state in each region, that's 6 states, which still puts us in a pretty good position to fight for all the rest. So something to think about as we go into our 4th turn here. Let's deal our cards and see what we get. As we head into turn 4, we have our Union Victory card that's left over from the last round. We'll be using that probably for a campaigning move at some point because we can't use it for the event. We have this strategy card we can use in turn 5 or turn 6, and we have 9 buttons. Let's deal our 6 cards. All of these cards are middle round cards. Quite a few here. This one will add some power to the Midwest. This one adds 1 in each region, and 1, 2, 3 of these cards give us buttons. Nothing for national support though. This one again looks like a Midwest support card. This goes to California, Nevada, and Arizona. This one is an interesting one. Marie-Louise Bottineau Baldwin. For the remainder of the turn, roll a 6-sided die instead of the 12-sided 1 to 4 result die when taking a campaigning action. We might save this one for turn 5 or turn 6 when we'll do more campaigning. Other than that, some pretty even cards, but let's now go in and bid for our strategy card. These are the 3 strategy cards available to us. We're going to go for the winning plan. This one I think is a particularly good one to play right away because we can draw 6 cards from our draw deck, play 1 immediately, play any number of place any number of the remaining 5 on top of your draw deck and the rest on the bottom of your draw deck. And what I'm thinking we can do, and we probably still have some middle cards left in the deck, and those are going to be weaker than the late cards, so maybe we can clear out some of those middle cards and put them at the bottom of the deck so we get to the late cards, the more powerful cards, earlier in the game. We are going to bid, once again, 4 buttons for this card, and we're going to roll the 12-sided die, 1 to 4 for the Applebot holding, hoping for anything except a 4. Gah! We get a 4 again. Statistics, 2 out of 3 times we've been denied for that, so all our buttons are lost. The Applebot doesn't get it, but we don't get it either, and now we go to our turn to start. So most of these cards are kind of add support all across the country. We're going to take advantage of these and play them pretty much straight up. Let's start with Farmers for Suffrage. Add 2 support in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, and South Dakota. 10 big support cubes. A reaction to Gilded Age inequalities and agricultural crisis, the Populist Party grew out of the Farmers Alliance and strongly backed women's suffrage. So here's a current look at the kind of Spartan support for Midwest suffrage at the moment. Let's add 2 to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, and South Dakota and take a look and see what it looks like. All right, so we've added support to these 5 states. Things looking a little bit better. Let's go to the Applebot's turn. Applebot gets Senator Cotton Ed Smith. Again, whittling down national support here. Play if there is at least 1 support in Congress, which there is. Remove 1 from Congress and add 2 in South Carolina. South Carolina's Smith opposed the 19th Amendment, saying the Southern man who votes for the Anthony Amendment votes to ratify the 15th Amendment. Ooh, that's a quote. All right, let's go add this to South Carolina. All right, so South Carolina neutral at the moment. We're going to add 2 there, and then down below we have to whittle away the national support. So national support at 4, it goes down to 3. We might have to make a concerted effort for this one in the next turn. Hopefully we'll do a little bit better on this because we don't look like we have many options this turn. Let's go to round 2 for this. All right, we'll keep pouring on the support. Let's go to the Midwest here again. Ida B. Wells Barnett. We get 2 buttons and we add 2 in Illinois and 1 each in each other state in the Midwest. That'll be nice and strong. Any anti-lynching activist, an anti-lynching activist and journalist, Wells Barnett, helped pass the Illinois Suffrage Act, which gave black and white women the rights to vote in 1914. Let's put her in play. Off camera, I've added our 2 buttons, giving us 7. We're going to add 2 to Illinois. We'll add 2 yellows here to keep us balanced at 2 apiece. And then I will add 1 more to each state and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. Here's the Midwest. After Ida B. Wells Barnett goes to work on it, we've got 4 in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, and 5 in Ohio. We're looking good in the Midwest after these double cards that have put some good impact on the voting power here. So women's suffrage looking good in the central part of the United States. Applebots round 2. Let's see what it's got here. Unwarranted, unnecessary, danger, and dangerous interference. Add 1 in 1 state of each region. Some states stridently opposed to suffrage amendment and passed resolutions to warn the federal government against violating their rights as states. As we did in turn 3, we're going to roll an 8-sided die for each region, and that'll be where we'll add this support. So for example, if we're doing the West Region 1 first, we get an 8, which is New Mexico. To add 1 support, we're going to remove our campaigning support. I'll do the other 5 states, and then we'll take a look. South Dakota, Missouri, Mississippi. This is okay because I think we're going to sacrifice one of these states so we can sacrifice Missouri. Lost the support in Mississippi. The South is looking dire here. North Carolina added 1, and then Vermont wiped out its bit of support. So nibbling away at us here. Let's go to our turn. Let's play Emmeline Pankhurst. Pankhurst, a British suffrage leader, spoke to American audiences in 1913 as a revolutionary militant willing to risk death for freedom. Roll 2 6-sided dice. Add that number anywhere. No more than 2 per state. Come on, boxcars, Emmeline. 5 and 2, 7. Decidedly mediocre, but we'll take it. I feel like if I knew the cards better, I might have a better strategy for where to add these. But I think what I want to try to do is to concentrate a little bit here on our weaker areas, which is the Atlantic and Appalachia and then the South, because we can't afford to lose as many states as we have no support here. So I'm going to scatter 7 across the bottom here, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like. All right, so we added 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Virginia, 1 in West Virginia, and then Alabama and Florida to give us 7. Just trying to get a little bit of support in this part of the country so we're not so far behind here. I think we can sacrifice South Carolina in the South so far, and then Kentucky right here, and probably Missouri in the Midwest, but maybe New Hampshire in the Northeast. I'm trying to pick 1 state that we can just give up totally on so we can kind of concentrate our losses there. Turn 3 for the Applebot. I keep kind of having this feeling we're going to get hammered here somehow. A threat to the ideal womanhood. Play if it is round 1 or 2 of the current turn. It is not. It is turn 3. Okay, so we will go to a campaigning action instead. What would this event? For the remainder of the turn, the suffragist player must spend 1 button in order to play the card as an event. Oh, good. Glad we didn't have that happen. So we will campaign for these. That means we're going to move the campaigners around and add supports to states. So the Applebot has 2 campaigners in action right now. We're going to roll 6-sided dice to see which region they go to. We get a 4 and a 6. So this one moves to region 4, which is the Midwest. Okay, that's not necessarily great. And then region 6 is the Northeast, so it's going to stay there. Let's roll the 12-sided die for the campaigner in region 4. And because there are no unclaimed state cards, this is going to be random. We're going to see how much support comes in. Let's get a nice 1. A 2. That's not too bad. Now we have to determine the state. Sorry, I should have rolled that at the same time. It goes into state 7. So 2 goes into 7. That's Indiana. We're going to take away the purple. That's 1, and then add a red support to Indiana, 2. Let's do the same thing for New England. We're going to roll the 8-sided for the die, and then the support. Oh, a 4. That's a killer. In state 7, that is Connecticut here. So we're going to take 1 away and add 3 to Connecticut. Ooh, that's a particularly nasty campaigning action by the Applebot. All right, let's play Maria de Lopez. De Lopez was a leading organizer in California's 1911 campaign, translating flyers and posters and delivering speeches to Spanish-speaking audiences. Get 2 buttons. Excellent. That gives us, 11 buttons? 2. I'll count them up later. Add 2 in each of California, Nevada, and Arizona. 2 in California, Nevada, and Arizona. Gives us a little bit of support out here. Still kind of weak in the West. We're missing that big card that we had to pass last time on. Round 4 for the Applebot. Emma Goldman. Add 1 in each state of each region. The opposition wasn't a monolith. As a radical anarchist, Goldman believed voting was a waste and supported full revolution to achieve her goals. Nasty stuff. All right. Let's get Emma in action. So as before, we're going to roll randomly to determine which state in each region. I'll add these and then we'll take a look at where the damage happens. All right, we lost support in Colorado and Arizona, Alabama and Indiana. Now 2 red cubes here. So this might be the state we sacrifice in the Midwest here. Then we lost one in Maryland and we lost one in Maine as well for 6 total cubes. 3 cards left and 2 turns. Let's play Carrie Chapman Cat here, which is I was tempted to play her for campaigning, but we're going to take the buttons too because we can always use the buttons. So we're going to add 2 buttons and then we add 1 in each state of each region. So let's go do that. All right, let's add one up here in Washington. Let's add another one down here in Wyoming for state number 2. For number 3, let's go for Texas, shall we? Texas, we'll put one there. In the Midwest, let's get back our lost support in Maryland. And then New England, likewise, let's fight back and go for, actually, let's go for Vermont in section 2. So 1 in each. Did I add 1 in here? I do not believe I did. Let's add 1 here to Michigan. No, Missouri. We'll go to Missouri here. We're going to sacrifice Indiana. Applebot is up. Turn round 5. The Great 1906 San Francisco Earthquake. Play if there is at least 1 gold or purple support in California. Remove all gold and purple from California. Oh, 1. Ouch! The suffragist player loses a button too. Natural disasters and long periods of expensive rebuilding disrupted the political momentum that suffragists were building in states and in Congress. That's right, so if there is 1 yellow or 1 purple, remove all gold and purple from California. And we lose one of our precious buttons. So California wiped out. Suffragist movement crippled in California due to the earthquake. And we go from 11 buttons down to 10 buttons. We do have kind of a plethora of buttons though, but that California support was a little bit of a stinger right there. Alrighty, we're going to play our last card here. We're going to save this one for the next turn, and we're going to play Union Victory, but not for its event because we can't. Not for national support, and we don't need any buttons. We're going to play it to campaign. We have 3 campaigners on the map, and let's take a look and see what that means we're going to do here. But that will get rid of that card and save the Marie-Louise Bottineau-Baldwin card for next turn. So we have campaigners in New England, Atlantic and Appalachia, and the South. We could spend a button to move them, but I actually kind of like where they're positioned because we need support here, we need support here, and we need support in New England. We're going to roll the die, 4-sided die, and we can assign 1 to each of them. If we don't like them, we can re-roll them all, but let's get 3 4s. 3, 4, and a 1. We'll take it. That's 8. That's about average. So let's assign these. Let's put the 4 down south here. Let's put the 3 right here in Atlantic and Appalachia, and we'll put the 1 up in New England. I'm kind of confident we're going to do well up there, at least more confident. Now I'm going to assign the support down here. So applying 4 in the south, let's go 2 in Mississippi, 1, 2, and then we'll add 1 in Arkansas, 3, and 1 in Texas, 4, giving us, starting to get a little bit of the western part of the South here. Here's what it looks like after we added our 3 cubes to the Atlantic and Appalachia. We now have 5 states with 2 support, and 1 state with none, and then 2 states that have anti-suffrage support. Let's go to New England. We can add 1 in New England. Let's add 1 to Maine to get us a little bit of support there. Last Applebot card of round 4. Conservative opposition, add 2 in any 3 states. Anti-suffragists regularly conflated the fight for the vote with radical ideologies like feminism and socialism, using scare tactics to win support. Nasty anti-suffragists. 2 in any 3 states. That will be determined randomly then. All right, so we're going to randomly pick a state. We'll roll a 6-sided die to determine the region, an 8-sided die to determine the state. We get region 3, state 8. Region 3, the South, state 8, Florida. So we take away our 1 support and we add 1 there. I will determine the other 2 and then add them into the game here. All right, we rolled another 3 and an 8, so we ended up with 4 of the support going to Florida, and we got 2 in West Virginia, so that wipes out the suffragist support in West Virginia. So the Applebot doing some damage in Florida and whittling away our rather weak support in the Atlantic and Appalachia region. And as we finish up turn 4, good support in the plains, decent support in the Midwest except for Indiana. West is rather weak, South is not looking very good, Appalachia not looking very good. Northeast is kind of a mix, perhaps tilting a little bit to our way, but we need to do better in only 2 more turns to do it. Not only that, but we've lost 50%. We're down to 50% support in Congress. We probably want to address this in turn 5, I think. Let's continue on now, though. I think we've done this quick enough that we can play turn 5 in this episode as well. Let's drive on to turn 5. So as we start turn 5, let's deal out our 6 cards. So we got 4 middle cards and 2 late cards, and this is where it would have been really nice to have won that winning plan card last time, because we could have probably moved away from these middle cards and gotten more late cards in the 5th turn here. But we do have a pathway with add 2 national support to Congress and add 1 national support to Congress. We do have a straight pathway to get the 19th Amendment passed by Congress so we can send it to the states for ratification. So might be time to do that, even perhaps early in this turn. And then we have some pretty decent cards in here. Mary Church Terrell is a stronger late card. Some of these middle cards a little bit weak, but we can now play this Eye on the Future one as well. But let's go bid for our strategy card. Even though the strategy has not paid off, we are going to bid 4 again and stick with our strategy and hope that the Applebot doesn't roll another 4. It gets a 2. Excellent. So finally we get one. I do think we're going to go with this winning plan card because it does allow us to play a card immediately. I'm tempted by this bellwether one, which would allow us to completely flip a state and win it, but I think this is going to be a little bit stronger overall. So we're going to take that card, and then one more strategy card comes into effect potentially for the last turn. Superior lobbying. Roll 4 8-sided dice for each 6, 7, or 8 to add 1 support to Congress or remove 1 from Congress. Interesting. So we won't really need this one if we can get the Congress to pass the 19th Amendment in this this turn here. So we'll see. We'll decide what to do when we get back with that. Let's go play our first card. So I think we're going to go to try to get the 19th Amendment through Congress. We're going to play add 2 support in Congress with this late card, and that will get us started on that path. So we add 2 support. We are 1 away. Let's see how the Applebot responds. If they do knock that out, we might think about waiting a little bit, but oh right, yes, War in Europe. I forgot there is a special Applebot card for play on turn 5, round 1, which is remove 1 support from Congress. Boom. For the remainder of the turn, the suffragist player must spend 1 button in order to take a campaigning action. This would have been a really good one had I been paying attention. We could have gone for this counter strategy card, which is remove 1 card that is in effect for the rest of this turn. That does mean campaigning will be limited, but maybe that's not too bad. I'm not sure we're going to be doing a ton of campaigning yet with only 3 campaigners out there. We might save that for the next round. So, yeah, still, that hurts. We can't get the national support without some extra help now. Alrighty, now we do have both of these cards that I realized we should have probably played one on the last turn here, but playable, it's turn 5 or 6, look through the draw deck and select 1 card and play for it. Played for its event immediately, then reshuffle your draw deck. So we want to do this one before we use the winning plan to restack the draw deck the way we want it. So we will play, to start out round 2 here, we're going to play Eye on the Future. Look through your draw deck and select 1 card and play it for its event immediately. So I've looked through the deck, and I've picked the Women's Trade Union League. This add 1 campaigner in the Atlantic and Appalachia region, add 1 support in Congress, and receive 2 buttons. This will allow us in the same turn to pass the 19th Amendment. So we will grab our button and add that there, and let's go put this into effect. So we will add our last campaigner to the Atlantic and Appalachia region, and we will add 1 support to Congress, which gives us 5. Completely reshuffle the deck here, and let's play Inez Milholland. So Inez Milholland, only the hopes of women have we, and our own spirit and a mighty principle. Women of these states unite, we have only our chains to lose and a whole nation to gain. Add 1 national support in Congress, get 2 more buttons, so I'll take those now, and then receive 1 in 1 state of each region. But let's go add the national support first. Here it is, boom, 6. So Congress has passed the 19th Amendment and sends it to the states. This part of the game is over. We need no more national support. We finished it in turn 2 of round 2 of turn 5. Let's see how that changes the game board. So now that Congress has passed it, any state that has 4 of either color support cubes, any state that has 4 support cubes from either side, locks into place. So we can take a look. There's nothing in California, but here we have a bunch of couple states in the plains. Let's take a look at how it works. So Montana has 8, which is a pretty significant amount of overkill, but that locks in place. We now have 1 state that's supporting us here. We need 35 more before we lose 12, right? Also, North Dakota, we'll pull those off, locked into place. Nothing else in the plain states here, though. Let's go down south Nothing down south. Let's go to the Midwest. Midwest is looking good. Minnesota, of course, picks up its support for suffrage. Let's go to Wisconsin, joining us. Good. That gives us 4 states. Iowa, good. 5 states. That's a good start for us. 6 is Illinois. That's 6 states for us. And then we have 1 overkill here in Ohio, which gets us to 7 states in this area. Now the Autobot has none yet. Let's go to Pennsylvania in the Northeast. Nothing here, although the Autobot is close on Kentucky. So we are up 7-0 as we finish this turn. But with this card also, we get a chance to play 1 support cube in 1 state of each region. So let's do that now as well. All right, so we want to start locking them in. So we're going to, in the West, we'll add 1 to Nevada, which will give us 4 and immediately lock it in. That is our 8th state, looking good there. Let's go to South Dakota here because they have 3. We'll add 1, which gives us 4 and switches that. So we've got 9 states. Let's go down south. I think now we really want to start concentrating on the states that have a good bit. So we're going to add 1 to Texas to get 3. We want to try to get some 4s down here for sure. Atlantic and Appalachia, we will add 1 to Maryland. And then up in New England, New England's actually not very good. Let's add 1 to down here to New Jersey to give them 3. And that now ends our turn with the score 9-0 us. But again, we can't afford to lose too many states. So it is far from over here. And not a lot of our other states are close. And only one is Texas has 3 now. A couple have 3 have 3. We got a lot of work to do. Oppobot is up. Governor Clement's veto. Play if at least 1 state has a green check mark. Gah! Replace 1 check mark in a state with a red X. Governor Clement. Nothing can give us Vermont except the death of the governor, said Chapman Cat after Governor Clement's veto, and we haven't come to murder yet. Okay. I'm going to roll a 6-sided die for the region. Get region 5, which is right here. There are no states there, so I'll roll until we get a region that goes there. 3, that's the south, nothing there. 2, there we go, plain states. Then Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota. I'll just determine randomly which one gets that by a die roll as well. We get a 4, which is North Dakota. So North Dakota switches, thanks to Governor Clement's veto. It is now 8-1. That's a painful card. All right, we're going to play the winning plan here. Draw 6 cards from your deck, play 1 card for its event immediately. Place any number of the remaining 5 cards on top of your draw deck and the rest on the bottom of your draw deck. So I'm going to go pick 6, and we'll take a look and see what we got. All right, so we don't need any more lobbying cards, and these 2 are lobbying cards, so we are going to take those out of action. We'll put those on the bottom of the deck, so we'll just put those there. Now the remaining 4, so the question with these remaining 4 cards is which one do we want to play now, and which ones do we want to keep for the deck? And I think we do want to keep this. This card here allows us to roll 2 8-sided dice and remove that number of cubes anywhere, no more than 2 per state. I think we want to keep this and hopefully get it. We'll probably try to get this one in the next hand. We'll play this early in the next round, which I think will help. This is draw 2 cards, so that's a good one to keep there. And then playable if World War I in Europe is in effect. So I guess World War I war in Europe can kind of be lost here. So I'm tempted to play this one. Well, let's think about it here. I guess the risk is if World War I is not in effect, but if we campaign, we're going to get an average of 10 cubes anyway, so I think we keep this one in play. Let's toss it in and keep it. I'm not really sure what to do. We're going to play victory map here, which is add 1 in each state in the Western Plain region, add 1 in each of Texas, Arkansas, Illinois, Michigan, New York, and Vermont. Victory map. So many women could vote before the 19th Amendment because state legislators set voting eligibility. Suffragists closely tracked the uneven terrain. Excellent. So we put those other 3 cards on top. Let's go do this one. This is a massive amount of cubes out here. So it's add 1 in each state in the West, Plains, in Texas, Arkansas, Illinois. I'll get busy here putting all these in. All right, that paints a little brighter picture. Although we only picked up Texas in the South, we now have back to 9-1, 9 green marks to 1 red check mark. Good, I feel like that was a nice strong turn for us. And I forgot, that's not even the end of our turn because we can still play our card here. All right, so let's think. Alrighty, at this point it becomes kind of a math play as to what we want to do. And I think that, so like the math on this card works better to use it for campaigning. This one I'm not sure. The math on this one is better to campaign because some of these states are already decided. So I'm looking at like how many cubes we could place, whereas if we went campaigning, how many cubes we would place of an average of 10, because the average is 2.5. So each time we campaign, we're going to get 10 cubes because we have 4 campaigners. These won't give us that many cubes. Also, the next math is whether we want to play this Marie-Louise Bottineau-Baldwin card for the remainder of the turn, roll 6-sided dice instead of a 1 to 4 die when taking a campaigning action. And this actually, the math works out slightly better. 3 times 14 is better than 4 times 10, and it will save us an extra button spent because we have that war in Europe in effect. So we are going to play Marie-Louise Bottineau-Baldwin. For the remainder of the turn, we're going to roll 6-sided dice instead of 4 when taking a campaigning action. And I think we're going to use these 3 of these next 4 cards all for campaigning. We're going to go campaign crazy here. And now the Autobot is up. Voter suppression. The Autobot rolls 8-sided die instead of a 6-sided die during final voting. Oh, that's a nasty card. Local officials abused their power and erected uneven barriers to the ballot box, especially for black women, in order to maintain racial domination. We really hopefully don't get to final voting then, because that's a really nasty card for them to have an effect there. All right, let's go to our turn. So we are going to use some of these middle cards here for campaigning. Let's go to Zitkala Sa. So we could have added 2 to each of these states, but 3 of these states are already decided, so it's only worth 4 cubes if we play this for its event. So we were going to play it for campaigning. But a member of the Yankton Sioux Nation, Zitkala Sa, fought for suffrage and Indian citizenship. So we are going to go campaigning. Now, because the War in Europe card is in effect, we lose one of our buttons, which leaves us with 8. It's still a pretty hefty amount, although it'd be nice to have more for final voting. And now we have, I like actually where our campaigners are, because we need a lot of support in the Appalachia, we need a lot of support down south, and we could use support in the Northeast too. But now, because we have Marie-Louise Bottineau-Baldwin in play, we roll 4 6-sided die and use those, assign those to the campaigners. So let's get some nice big numbers here. 5, 5, 2, 2, exactly average, 14. Well, they can't complain about that, really, I guess. Let's put a 5 down south for sure. Try to get some states down here. Let's put a 5 in the map here and then a 2 here, of course. Actually, we could do this. We can do 5 up in New England and then 4 down here, because we have 2 campaigners. If we're going to campaign again, we might as well go low here because we're going to get more later. So I'm going to add these in here now. Let's see how it might work in the West. First up, we want to get states. So we're going to add 1 to Arkansas, which wraps that state up, gives us our 10th check mark. That's 1. Let's go 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. 2 more states to our side. Mississippi, Louisiana, voting for suffrage. The South starts to go our way. Alrighty, if we go to the Appalachia region, we have 4 to play. Let's go 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Virginia, giving us 2 more states. So those are in play. Let's go up to the New England region. So let's see what we can do in New England with our campaigner. We will go 1 to lock in New Jersey. And let's get Massachusetts and Rhode Island with our remaining 4. That locks in both of those states. Let's see what the score is now. All right, so we are at 17-1. We are just shy of halfway here. That's a pretty good campaigning effect for us. We'll take that. We could still use more, however. Applebaum cards are up. They're in their late cards too, which are pretty strong. American Constitutional League, add 2 in any 3 states. And again, I believe this is done randomly here when we go this. The ACL argued against the Anthony Amendment by noting that 18 elections over 6 previous years had found a majority of voters rejecting women's suffrage. Yeah, so these are determined randomly. However, if a state has already decided one way or another, we re-roll in that region for that state. So let's go see how this does. 2 in any 3 states. So we'll roll the red die for the region, the white die for the state. We get Region 2, State 3. Region 2, State 3, Colorado. Add 2 to it, so that just wipes out Colorado's support. Okay, let's do that. I'll do this for the next 2, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so it wiped out support additionally in Idaho, and then also it added 2 to West Virginia. So we have 1, 2, 3, Yeah, there's about 5, 6 states in here that look like they could tip pretty easily the wrong way. Let's go to our turn. So we're going to play this middle card for campaigning. We have to pay a button because the war in Europe is in effect. I think that's going to be better than removing 6 red cubes. We're going to kind of go for the power campaigning route, and we're going to go campaigning again. Once again, I kind of like where our campaigners are set up. I think we can still do, we need a lot more voting out here. So let's roll 4 6-sided dice, get big numbers here. That's okay, 1 better than average, right? 15, 6, 5, 2, 2. We will put the 6 down south. We'll put the 2 2s in the Atlantic and Appalachia, and we'll put the 5 up in New England, and let's go distribute these. All right, down south, we're going to put 4 in Alabama, and we are going to put 2 more in Georgia, giving us maybe 6 of the 8 states down here. In Atlantic and Appalachia, we're going to add 2 to Delaware, which gives us that one, and we're going to add 1 to Maryland, which gives us that one, and then let's knock off the Autobots. Actually, let's add 1 to Tennessee, which has got nothing in it right now. So that gives us 2 more check marks here. Up in New England, we have 5. We're going to play Vermont and New York for 4, which gives us 2 more check marks up here, and then we're going to add 1 to Maine, which gives us 2 support there. Getting close. That gives us 22 support check marks to 1 at this point in time. Okay, let's go to the Autobot's turn. Autobot, round 5, turn 5. Southern Women's Rejection League. Play if Southern strategy is in effect. It is. God, okay. Add 2 red cubes in 4 states in the South region. Darn it. Formed to lobby against the Anthony Amendment, the Rejection League supported Anglo-Saxon domination and opposed socialism and radicalism. God, what a mess. I have a little bit of a rules question on this one because 5 of the states are already taken and it says we're supposed to play in 4. We can play in 3, which works fine, but what do we do with that extra state? I think the intent is that we can't remove any of the locked ones, but I think the intent is that it's perhaps lost. Just to make this a little bit more challenging, I'm going to say that the Southern Women's Rejection League had a little bit of influence in another state, and I'm going to randomly determine where that 4th state is. So this is a little bit painful for us. South Carolina gets 2, goes to red. Florida gets 2 and goes to red. Georgia knocks off our support, and it goes down to 1 for us. And I'm going to just randomly determine 1 more state for that. Oh, I rolled Indiana, which actually goes to another red X. Ooh, maybe I was too kind there. Okay, let's tally this up. It stands right now 22-4 with the Autobot picking up 4 states in that turn. Alrighty, we're gonna campaign with this one because using this card there will add 8, but campaigning with the 6-sided die should give us an average of 14. So it's 6 extra cubes at the cost of a button. So we're gonna spend our button because the war in Europe's in effect. We're gonna use Mary Church Terrell for campaigning. Once again, we roll our 4 6-sided die. Let's get a nice big result here. Oof. 12. That's not very good, but it's only 2 less than average. I'm not going to use a button to replace it. We'll put 12 in effect. Let's see what we're going to do. All right, so we're going to put a 5 up in New England. We could use some support there. We're going to put the 2 1s down in the South. I was hoping to get a total of 3 so we could get Georgia and lock up the South, but we'll figure that out. And then we'll put the 5 here in the Atlantic and Appalachia. So we will add 2 back into Georgia. We're not going to lose Georgia. We can't. And then let's go to the Midwest here. So let's add 3 to Tennessee to give us Tennessee. And then we'll go 4, 5 to try to pick off North Carolina. Question is if we can get enough here to kind of lock in the 36 states before we get to final voting. Because I think with that Autobot card in there, we might not win enough there. 1, 2, so add 2 to Maine. And then let's add 3. We'll take away a 1, 2, 3 to New Hampshire. Gives us close to New Hampshire. Let's tally it up. Picked up 2 there, 24-4. Slow progress. Autobot's turn, last turn of round 5. Hopefully not too damaging here. Oh my goodness. Remind me never to play the Southern strategy again. Play if Southern strategy is in effect. Add 2 in 4 states in the South region. But there's only 1 state available in the South region, which is Georgia, which leaves us that question of thinking this through. It's not really that big of a difference if we play it and determine the other 3 states randomly. It's not that much different than campaigning. Campaigning probably is better for us, but I'm going to play this way. So we will, let's see how this will impact things. So playing it for the event, it adds 2 to each state in the South. We'll have it take back the 2 support from Georgia, and then I'm going to randomly determine the other 3 states and take 2 cubes out of those states. Add 2 anti-support cubes to each of those states. All right, so Appelbot got support in Kentucky, Missouri, which wiped out ours and added one there, and then wiped out the support in, it was Kansas, I think. One other one had in the plains here that had some support, lost 2 more. So it picks up another state. It's now got 5 states, 24-5 as we finish turn 5. So as we go to the final turn, it's 24-5. With the Appelbot's edge in voting, I would really like to be able to wrap this up before we have to go to final vote. And final voting basically is if we get to the end of turn 6, any states that don't have 4 decided cubes have this final voting process. So I think next turn, we really want to start to shift some of our attention out here to the plains and the west, because there's a lot of states to pick up out there. So we've done a pretty good job in New England, done a pretty good job down here in the Midwest and in the Atlantic and Appalachia. Maybe one more round of campaigning down here could wrap that up, and then we could move out to the plains in the west and try to do more campaigning and add more cubes out there. We'll see you in the next episode. Let me know what you think. How we doing? If you have an idea on that rule card there too, the Daughters of the Confederacy, I feel like that's a decent way to play it. At least probably plays it to the Appelbot's advantage. But see you in the next episode. That'll be the final one.